Have you ever stood at a crossroads where every choice felt like a risk, but doing nothing felt like losing yourself? Harper Blake was not chasing fairy tales. She was just trying to keep the lights on, raise her daughter, and breathe through each day in silence. Then came a moment she never asked for, a man from a different world, a quiet offer, and a door that opened to something she did not know how to name. Would you walk away to protect your peace or stay, knowing the cost might be your heart? What if love did not arrive with grand gestures, but in small acts of presence, in shared cocoa, and the sound of crayons on paper? This is not a story about rescue. It is a story about choosing what is real, even when the world tells you to run. Stay with us, and ask yourself, what would you have done? The cold Boston rain had a way of finding every weakness. It slipped through the seams of her old sneakers. It crept into the cuffs of her faded jeans. It touched the back of her neck like a quiet warning. Gray clouds pressed low over the city. Mist wrapped around the buildings, blurring windows and streetlights. The sidewalks glistened with water and weariness. Harper Blake moved through the evening like a shadow. Her delivery bag was held tight against her chest. She had one more stop before she could take the last train home to South Boston. The soles of her shoes made soft, wet sounds as she climbed the steps of a brownstone on Tremont Street. Her fingers were stiff from the cold when she pressed the buzzer beside the door. She waited, counted to 5, pressed again, nothing. Then a faint click. The door creaked open. A man in a hoodie took the food without eye contact. He mumbled something close to thank you and closed the door before she could even respond. Harper stood there for a moment, staring at the wood grain of the door. She thought about asking for a tip. She thought about her daughter. Lily was probably asleep by now, curled up with her stuffed dolphin and blanket with the fading stars. That was enough. It had to be. Harper turned and stepped back into the rain. The train station was not far. She caught the green line just in time. The car smelled like wet jackets and tired feet. An older woman in scrubs leaned against the window, half asleep. A teenager chewed gum while staring at the floor. Harper checked her delivery app. $62.40. Not bad. Not enough. It never was. She got off at Broadway Station. The rain still fell. The hallway light in her apartment building flickered above her. The tile floor was always cold, no matter the season. Her key stuck in the lock. She twisted hard, and the door gave in. The space inside was warm but cramped. 1 bedroom, 3 lives. She slipped off her shoes and moved quietly. The living room held her mother's knitting, untouched beside an old recliner. The clock above the TV ticked steadily in the dark. She looked in on Lily. The child slept deeply. Her small chest rose and fell under a blue fleece blanket. Beside her pillow was a plastic heart-shaped clip, holding a get well card. On the nightstand, a white bottle reminded Harper that the prescription would run out in 3 days. In the kitchen, Harper reheated coffee from early morning. The mug was chipped at the rim. It used to say, "Best Mom Ever," in bright glitter. Now it just said, "Estem V." She sipped slowly. No one said anything. Not the walls, not the fridge, not the night. Outside, the rain kept falling. By 5:15 the next morning, Harper was already walking. Her second job was on the other side of town. A corporate office in the Seaport district had called for backup cleaning staff. She agreed to help. $30 extra could pay for Lily's school lunch or gas to get her mother to the clinic. Boston at dawn felt like a different world. Delivery trucks passed without honking. Windows stayed dark. The sidewalks were quiet, except for the steady rhythm of Harper's steps. She reached the glass tower just before 6. The lobby smelled like lemon polish and stone. Bright lights reflected off marble floors. She signed in and scanned her temporary ID badge. Her sneakers squeaked as she stepped into the service elevator. First, the lobby bathrooms, then the main conference hallway, then the empty offices, where coffee machines blinked on, but no one had arrived to drink it. At 9 o'clock, she was cleaning the glass doors on the 32nd floor. The view from the windows was enormous. The city stretched outward in every direction, rooftops and trees, bridges and gray water. It all looked so quiet from that high up. She paused, not to admire it, not really. She just felt distant from it, like someone outside looking in. A voice came from behind her. "Excuse me, can you help me find the visitor lounge?" She turned. The man was tall, maybe mid-30s. His jacket looked expensive, but not flashy. His dark hair had a slight wave. His tone was even, calm. Harper answered without hesitation. "Into the hall, left at the corner." He smiled. Not a forced smile, not rushed or polite, the kind that made people feel real. "Thank you," he said simply. Then he was gone. Harper stared at the hallway for a moment, then turned back to the glass, but his voice stayed with her, clean, steady, kind. That night, her delivery app pinged again. New order, unusual size, high priority, delivery address, Grant Biocore, Seaport District, penthouse level. She stared at the screen. It was the same tower, the same company. She remembered the door plate she had seen that morning. Elliot Grant. She hesitated. Then she tapped accept. Outside, the rain had started again. Harper stood at the curb in front of the Grant Biocore tower. The sky was dark again. The city lights reflected in the wet asphalt like broken glass. Her delivery bag sat heavy on her shoulder. It was packed with enough food for 6, maybe more, probably for a late meeting or a board dinner. That kind of thing. The kind of thing people like her never attended. She looked up at the tower, 35 stories of glass and light. Inside, people in suits drank espresso and discussed things that decided other people's futures. Harper had cleaned their floors that morning. Now she was bringing them dinner. The front desk clerk looked up as she entered. Young, buttoned up, distracted. Harper offered a quiet greeting and held up the delivery receipt. He barely glanced at it. Penthouse. Take the private elevator. It is already cleared. She blinked. The penthouse. He nodded without interest. Yes. Mr. Grant is expecting it. She stepped into the elevator. The doors slid shut with a soft sound. The silence wrapped around her like a wool coat. The ride was smooth. No music, just her own heartbeat. When the doors opened, she expected a receptionist, or maybe an assistant. Instead, there was just quiet and a wide open space. The penthouse was warm with soft lighting, hardwood floors, clean walls, a long dining table under a pendant light, shelves filled with books, a baby grand piano in the corner. She stepped in slowly. A voice came from behind the glass windows. "You can set it on the table." Harper turned. Elliot Grant stood near the window, his back to her. He looked smaller than he had earlier that day. Not physically, but something in his posture. His hands were in his pockets. He wore the same jacket, but now without the confidence. He turned. "I remember you," he said. Harper froze for a second, then nodded. "I clean your building." "I know," he said. "You showed me where the lounge was." She looked around. The room felt too quiet for someone like her. Too polished. Too far from her life. He stepped closer. Would you like a glass of water? No. Thank you, I should go. He did not insist, just studied her face. Calm, not invasive. You live in South Boston, he asked. Harper blinked. Yes. How do you know? You had an MBTA card in your badge holder. I saw it earlier. She looked down at her shoes. He continued, gently. I grew up in Dorchester, not far from there. That surprised her. You did? He nodded. My mother was a nurse. My father worked construction. We lived 2 blocks from Ashmont Station. Harper softened just a little. I know that neighborhood. My daughter S. clinic is near there. He looked at her then. Really looked. You have a daughter. She nodded. Lily, 5 years old. He smiled slightly. That is a good name. Harper shifted her weight. The bag strap dug into her shoulder. I should go. The food is still warm. Wait, he said. His voice was gentle but certain. I am not trying to be inappropriate or strange. He paused. People hand me things all day. Reports, devices, news, but no one tells me anything real anymore. He stepped back, gave her space. I was in a meeting all day, with investors, analysts. Everyone had something to sell. I wanted 5 minutes with someone who has nothing to gain. She did not know how to answer that. He pointed toward the dining table. Would you sit just 5 minutes? She hesitated, looked at the elevator, looked at him. Then she sat. The food was in cardboard containers. Nothing fancy. Pasta, bread, grilled vegetables. He poured water into 2 glasses. They ate in quiet for a moment. Harper finally asked, Why me? He did not smile, but his eyes held something steady. Because you looked tired, but not broken. That answer sat between them like another person at the table. Harper spoke carefully. I am tired, most days, but I have no room to break. He nodded, slowly. What is your daughter like, he asked. Books, dinosaurs. She wants to see snow. She has never seen it. Not in real life. He looked out the window. Snow is due this weekend. Vermont should get plenty. She smiled slightly. She wants to build a snowman, but I told her we might have to wait a little longer. There was something soft in his face then, something unguarded. I lost my sister, he said suddenly. Harper looked up. She had a rare autoimmune condition. When we were kids, he continued, she loved snow, but she never got strong enough to travel. Harper said nothing, only listened. She died before I turned 20. I still think about her every time it gets cold. The room was very still. I am sorry, Harper said. He nodded. Thank you. There was a pause. Then he looked at her. I know this is forward, but would you have dinner with me? She blinked. This is dinner, a real dinner. He said, no business, no elevator rides, just food, conversation. Harper gave a small laugh. Not bitter, just tired. I cannot afford the places you go. He replied without hesitation. Then let us go somewhere that serves grilled cheese and tomato soup. Those were my sister, S. favorite. She looked at him, really looked. I do not know you, she said. You are right, he said, but you will. She stood. Maybe, she said. I will think about it. He nodded. Fair enough. As she turned to leave, he handed her the receipt. Folded inside was a business card, nothing flashy. White, simple letters, Elliott Grant, Grant Biocore, personal line. She took it without a word. Back in the elevator, she leaned against the cold wall. Her hands were still cold, but something else had changed. She did not know what. Not yet, but something had shifted. The next morning, Harper stood by the kitchen sink, her hands wrapped around a mug of tea. The window showed nothing but darkness and a faint reflection of her face. A voice came from behind, soft, familiar. "You came home late last night." It was the voice of Margaret. Harper did not turn. She nodded. "I had a delivery." It took longer than I thought. Margaret moved slowly to the table, her shawl draped over her shoulders. Her steps were careful but steady. Was it someone important? Harper took a sip of tea. "I guess so. CEO of a big tech company, Grant Biocore." Margaret sat and stirred her coffee. "Did he treat you with respect?" Harper nodded again. "Yes. He was different." Margaret looked at her daughter with a thoughtful expression. "Different can be good or complicated." Harper sat down across from her. The table wobbled slightly under her elbow. "He asked me to dinner," Harper said. Margaret did not flinch. "And what did you say?" I said, "maybe." Margaret lifted her cup. The steam rose between them. "Maybe is not no. Maybe means there is a door open, even if only a little." Harper looked down at her hands. "I do not know, Ma. He seems kind, but that world of his, it is not where I belong." Margaret was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke with warmth. "You have spent a long time surviving. Your heart is allowed to wonder what it feels like to live." Later that afternoon, Harper finished her shift early. The air outside was cool. The clouds hung low over the skyline. She checked her phone. No message from Elliot. No pressure, no expectation. Still, she found herself walking toward the small coffee shop on A Street. A bell rang as she stepped inside. The smell of fresh bread and roasted beans greeted her like an old friend. Elliot sat near the window. No suit, no assistant, just a gray sweater and jeans. He looked up. His face lit up, not with surprise, but with quiet gladness. Harper sat across from him. "You came," he said. She shrugged slightly. It was raining again. He smiled. A true Boston welcome. They ordered drinks, black coffee for him, chamomile tea for her. The small shop felt like a world away from glass towers and deadlines. Elliot leaned forward. "I want to be honest with you." Harper tilted her head slightly. "That sounds like something serious." "It is not heavy. I just mean what I say." She gave a small nod. "I did not ask you here because I think you need help," he said. "I asked because talking to you felt real. Not polite, not surface, just real." Harper did not speak right away. Then she said, "I do not need saving." "I know," he said. "You are not someone who needs rescue." She looked down at the edge of her mug. The warmth of the tea felt steady in her hand. "My days are long," she said. "Work, errands, making ends meet. But I still laugh with Lily. I still read to her. That counts." "It does," he said softly. They sat in silence for a few moments. Outside, the rain fell against the glass. "My daughter thinks I deliver surprises," Harper said. Elliot smiled. "Does she?" "Yes. She thinks every bag I carry has a gift inside. Cupcakes, balloons, party hats. She sounds like she sees joy where others do not." Harper nodded slowly. "She wants to see snow. She talks about it like it is magic. Has she ever?" "No, never. We cannot afford the trip. Not with her health." Elliot said nothing, but his eyes held something. Not pity, not solution, just care. Harper asked, "What about you? Do you have family?" His gaze dropped to the table. "I had a sister. She passed away when we were both still young." Harper did not rush him. She was bright, full of questions. She had a rare condition. Our parents did everything they could, but it was not enough. "I am sorry," Harper said. Elliot nodded. Snow was her favorite thing. We would stand at the window for hours and watch it fall. He paused. She was the reason I started this company. I wanted to help others. I still do. But some days, I feel like I am just writing emails. Harper leaned back. Her voice was soft. You sound lonely. I think I am, he said. They both sat with that truth. No one tried to fill the silence. Harper took another sip of tea. What would your sister have said about you now? She would have said, I need more balance, more people who speak from the heart. He looked at her again. Like you? Harper offered a faint smile. I am not sure I know how to be in your world. Then let me meet you in yours. She did not answer right away. Then she said, That sounds easy, but it is not. I know. Another pause. Elliot reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small notepad. He tore off a page and slid it across the table. It was a sketch. 2 trees, one tall, one smaller. Their branches touched. I draw sometimes, badly, but I like the idea that we can be different and still connect. Harper looked at the drawing. Something in her chest shifted, gently. When they stepped outside, the rain had slowed to a mist. Elliot offered her the umbrella. She declined. I do not melt. He laughed. No, I can see that. Harper glanced up at the clouds. I need time. I will wait, he said. She nodded, then turned and walked toward the station. Her steps were quiet, her coat still thin, but something warm had taken root, small, almost invisible. Hope. Harper sat at the edge of the bed. The apartment was quiet. Outside, the city whispered through cracks in the window. Lily had fallen asleep with her favorite book pressed against her chest. Margaret was resting too. The small lamp on the nightstand cast a circle of light that made everything feel soft, safe. Harper opened her phone. A message waited. From Elliot. The words were simple. Would you have dinner with me this Friday? Nothing formal, just good food, good company, no expectations. She read it twice, then once more. Her thumb hovered over the screen. Yes. No. Maybe. She locked the phone and set it down. She walked to the small mirror above the dresser. Her reflection met her with tired eyes and a loose ponytail. Faint lines sat beneath her eyes. Her skin looked pale under the yellow light. She touched her face, not out of vanity, just to feel something solid. Her voice broke the silence. I do not belong in his world. She said it to no one, but the words filled the room. Friday came slowly. Harper worked her morning shift at the bakery. Her hands moved through routine motions: bread, coffee, clean the counter, smile, repeat. By the time the afternoon arrived, her thoughts were too loud to ignore. She clocked out early. On the way home, she stopped by a thrift store. The racks were filled with clothes that smelled faintly of dust and detergent. She found a soft gray dress. Simple, clean, modest. She held it up against her chest. It would do. Back home. Margaret sat in the armchair knitting. Harper entered quietly and placed the dress on the back of the couch. Margaret looked up. So you said yes. Harper nodded. I did. Margaret smiled. I am glad. Harper sat down slowly. I do not know what to expect. I do not want it to feel like anything more than it is. Do you trust him? Harper thought for a moment. Yes, she said. I think I do. Margaret reached for her tea and took a slow sip. Then let it be enough for tonight. At 6:45. Harper stood in front of the mirror again. The gray dress fit well, not perfect, but it made her feel like herself. She pulled her hair back and added a touch of mascara. Her hands shook slightly as she applied it. From the bedroom, Lily called out sleepily, "Are you going to deliver a surprise tonight?" Mama Harper walked in and kissed her daughter's forehead. Maybe just one. Lily smiled with her eyes still closed. "Bring back cake." Harper laughed softly. "I will try." The restaurant was tucked between two brick buildings in the south end. A small wooden sign hung above the door. It read, "Miller's Table," in faded gold letters. Inside, the room glowed with warm lights and dark wood. A few families sat around tables. A couple leaned close at a corner booth. It was not loud, not too quiet, just enough to feel alive. Elliot stood as she entered. He wore a button-down shirt and dark pants. Simple, clean, no tie. His eyes lit up when he saw her. "You look comfortable," he said. Harper smiled. That was the goal. He pulled out her chair. She sat. A server brought menus, then water. Harper looked around. "This place is nice. My sister loved it here," Elliot said. She used to call it the Toast Palace. They have 30 different toppings for bread. Harper smiled. "That sounds like a dream." They ordered food, nothing fancy. Soup, bread, roasted chicken. Elliot folded his napkin and placed it in his lap. "You seem nervous." Harper met his eyes. "I do not know what I am doing here." "You are having dinner," he said gently. "That is all. Not with just anyone. I am not asking for more than tonight. Just your company. Just now." Harper exhaled slowly. "That I can do." They talked about small things, music, childhood memories, books they loved, the first meal they learned to cook. Elliot had burned frozen pizza at age 11. Harper had made grilled cheese with too much butter. They laughed. It felt easy. Near the end of the meal, Elliot looked at her with a different kind of calm. "There is something I want you to know." Harper straightened slightly. "My company will go public next month. The media will start asking questions. Digging." He paused. "I do not want you to be caught off guard." She was quiet. "I do not want you to be hurt by any of it. I am just a woman from South Boston," she said. "To them? That makes you interesting," Elliot replied. "But to me, it makes you real." Harper looked at her hands, the same hands that cleaned offices, that carried groceries, that held Lily at night when she coughed too hard. "I do not want to be a headline," she said. "You are not. Not to me." Outside, the air had cooled. A light wind brushed the street. Elliot walked her to the corner. The streetlight turned red. They stood in quiet. Harper looked up at the sky. No stars, just the glow of the city. "I am still unsure," she said. "Me too," Elliot replied. "But I would like to see where this goes." He smiled. "So would I." She took a step back. "I should get home," he nodded. "I will call a cab." "No need," she said. "I like walking." He did not try to stop her. "Instead," he said, "thank you for tonight." Harper turned, walked into the quiet city. She felt the night settle around her. Not heavy, not sharp, just present, like something was beginning. The morning light spilled through the kitchen window. Soft and cold, Harper sat with both hands wrapped around a cup of tea. The steam warmed her face, but not enough to quiet the uneasy feeling inside her chest. Margaret moved slowly across the room, placing folded towels in a drawer. Her movements were silent, deliberate. Harper had not said much since coming home from dinner. There had been a calm after that night, a sense of quiet hope, but today felt different. A vibration on the counter broke the silence. Harper looked down. Her phone screen lit up. A message from Carlos, a co-worker at the bakery. Hey, just saw this. You are on a news site. You okay? Her stomach tightened. She tapped the link. The headline shouted at her. Tech billionaire Elliot Grant, spotted with mystery woman in South End. A grainy photo followed, taken from across the street. She could see the outline of her own coat, the soft gray dress. Her head turned just enough to catch her profile. The article was short, filled with speculation, no names, but enough hints to make her feel exposed. A single line made her blood go cold. Sources claim she may be a single mother from South Boston. Harper stared at the words. Margaret looked up from across the room. What is it, Harper? Could not answer. She handed over the phone instead. Margaret read slowly. Then set the device down. They always come for the story. I am not a story, Harper said, her voice low. Margaret met her eyes. No, you are not. But they will not care. By the afternoon, more messages had arrived, some from unknown numbers, some from local reporters. One asked for an interview. Another offered money for a statement. Another asked if she had any fun facts about Elliot Grant. Harper deleted each one without replying. She picked Lily up from preschool an hour early. As they walked home, she noticed a man across the street. He held his phone like a camera, pretending not to watch them. Harper pulled her daughter closer. The hand of Lily was small, warm, unaware. Harper felt the weight of everything pressing in. That evening, Elliot called. Harper let it ring. His voice came through the voicemail, calm but urgent. Harper, I just saw the article. I am so sorry. I never wanted this to happen. Please, call me. Let me explain. She turned off the phone. The lights of the city blinked through the window, but the apartment felt smaller than usual, like the walls were moving closer. Harper sat in the chair beside her daughter's bed. The breathing of Lily was steady, peaceful. Harper ran her fingers gently through the curls of her daughter. She wanted to protect that peace, hold it in both hands. But the outside world had already cracked the door open. The next morning, Elliot waited outside the bakery. Harper saw him through the window. He looked tired. His shirt was wrinkled. His eyes searched for her through the glass. She stepped outside. You shouldn't be here, she said. I had to see you. His voice was soft. No suit, no guards, just Elliot. I did not plan this, he said. I did not call them. I never told anyone, but you knew it could happen. He paused. Yes, I did. And you still invited me into your life. I thought we could control the story. Harper folded her arms across her chest. That is not how the world works for people like me. I know that now. She shook her head. No, you do not. Because when it gets ugly, you can disappear into a building with security and tinted windows. I never wanted this to hurt you. But it did. He stepped closer. I care about you. Her voice cracked. I have a daughter. I have a mother. And now, we are in someone else's spotlight. She took a breath. I am not your mistake to manage. I am not distraction. You are not. You are the most honest part of my life. She looked at him. The face that once made her feel safe now felt like a doorway to chaos. I need peace, she said, not headlines. He nodded slowly. I understand. And let me go. He stood still for a moment, then took one step back. If that is what you need, I will not fight you. Harper turned and walked back into the bakery. The door closed behind her with a quiet chime. That night, Harper could not sleep. She lay on the couch, listening to the soft breathing of Lily from the bedroom, The sound of trucks on the street came and went like waves. She got up and pulled open the bottom drawer of the cabinet. There, beneath old papers and a stack of receipts, was her sketchbook. The pages had yellowed slightly, the corners curled. She flipped through them. Faces, windows, a cityscape, half drawn. Then she picked up a pencil and began again. A tree, a porch, a quiet morning. She did not know what it meant, but it made her hands stop shaking. In the morning, Lily crawled into her lap with a blanket and a sleepy smile. "Mama, why are you drawing?" Harper looked at the child in her arms. "Because I forgot how good it feels." Lily leaned against her shoulder. "Are you sad?" Harper thought for a moment. "Yes," she said, "but I will be okay." They stayed like that for a long time. No news, no noise, no story, just breath, just quiet. 3 days passed, not a word from Elliot. Not a message, not a call, not even a glance on the news. At first, Harper felt relief, then uncertainty, then something else, something like grief. She went to work, came home, made tea, folded laundry, read bedtime stories to Lily. Everything stayed the same on the outside, but inside, something had shifted. The world felt quieter, but not in a peaceful way, in a hollow way. One afternoon, she sat with Margaret in the kitchen. The sun had come out after 3 days of rain. It poured through the window, casting long shadows across the table. Harper stirred a bowl of soup. The steam curled into the air like breath. Margaret watched her for a while before speaking. "Have you heard from him?" Harper shook her head. "No. Do you want to?" Harper took a slow breath. "I do not know." Margaret leaned back in her chair. Sometimes silence is not punishment. Sometimes it is space. Harper looked at her mother. "To think, to feel," Margaret said. "To listen to what you already know." That night, after Lily fell asleep, Harper took out her sketchbook again. She sat by the window. A blank page stared back at her. She touched the pencil to the paper, but nothing came. She closed the book. Some things, she realized, needed more than time. They needed choice. Elliot sat in his office. The lights of the city glowed behind him. His desk was covered in folders and papers, but none of it held his attention. A mug of coffee had gone cold. He stared at the screen of his phone. Her name was still in his contacts, Harper Blake. He had not called since she asked him to stop. He had wanted to, every day, but something inside him held back. Respect, fear. He scrolled through the last message he had written. Still unsent. "I miss your voice. I miss the way you see the world. I miss how real it felt when you looked at me like I was not someone with power, but someone trying." He deleted it again, then leaned back in his chair. He looked up at the ceiling. "Give her time," he whispered. "Give her space." On Saturday, Harper took Lily to the park. The sky was wide and blue. Lily ran ahead, chasing pigeons and laughing with her arms wide open. Harper sat on a bench beneath a tree. She watched her daughter dance in circles. The laughter of Lily floated in the air like music. A man passed with a dog on a leash. He smiled at Harper and nodded. She nodded back. The world kept moving, even when something inside her still stood still. Later that day, Harper cleaned the apartment. She scrubbed the sink, wiped the counters, swept the floor. Margaret watched her from the hallway. "You are not cleaning," she said. "You are scrubbing out thoughts." Harper stopped, cloth in hand. "Maybe I am." Margaret stepped forward and placed a hand on her shoulder. "Let the silence speak to you, not punish you. Harper looked down at the floor. I thought I could handle it. You did, Margaret replied. But maybe it is not about handling. Maybe it is about healing. That evening, Harper walked to the small grocery store around the corner. The air had turned cooler. Leaves danced along the sidewalk. She picked up bread, milk, a bar of chocolate for Lily. At the counter, the cashier glanced at her with recognition. You are that woman, he said. From the article. Harper stiffened. I am just buying milk. He nodded. Awkward. No offense. Just... It is nice to see someone real in all that noise. She paid without another word and left the store, but something in her chest loosened. Real. That word again. It followed her like a shadow, like a promise. Back home. Harper set the groceries down. She tucked Lily into bed. Read her 2 stories instead of 1, Lily asked. Is the man from the restaurant coming back? Harper smiled sadly. I do not know, baby. Do you miss him? Harper paused. Yes, she said softly. Then maybe he misses you too, Lily whispered, eyes already closing. Harper sat there in the dim light. The quiet returned, but it no longer felt empty. It felt full of questions, full of waiting, full of something unfinished, and maybe worth finishing. The mail came later than usual. Harper stepped into the hallway and picked up the stack from the narrow metal box. Most of it was usual. Flyers, bills, a coupon for frozen pizza. Then she saw the envelope, thicker than the others, no return address. Her name was written by hand, not printed, not rushed. She stared at it for a moment. Back in the apartment, she sat at the kitchen table. The envelope sat untouched in front of her. Margaret noticed. You look like you are staring at a ghost. I might be, Harper said. Then open it. Ghosts do not disappear on their own. Harper slowly tore the paper open. Inside was a folded piece of stationery. One line was written in blue ink. Some dreams should not stay on paper. Underneath the note was a printed map. A hand-drawn path had been added in red ink from Boston to a small town in Vermont. At the bottom corner, a word was circled, cabin. Nothing more. No name. No explanation. Just that. Harper stared at the paper for a long time, then refolded it carefully. She slipped it back into the envelope and placed it on the shelf near the door. For the rest of the day, she did not speak of it, but her mind circled it again and again. She cleaned the dishes. She helped Lily with a puzzle. She folded towels, but the envelope waited, like a question waiting for its answer. That night, Harper stood by the window. The lights of the street below blinked slowly, one by one. Margaret approached. You are thinking loudly, she said. Harper gave a small smile. He sent something. Elliot Harper nodded. No words, just a map and a line. Margaret was quiet for a moment. Do you want to go? I do not know. Do you want to stay? Harper looked out the window. I have spent so much time afraid of what could break. Margaret touched her shoulder. It is not weakness to want something more. Harper whispered. But what if it hurts again? Then you will heal again, Margaret said, and you will be stronger for it. The next morning, Harper packed a small bag. She told Lily they were going to see trees and maybe snow. Lily squealed with joy. Can we build a snowman if there is snow? Harper said, smiling. We will try. Margaret helped them down the stairs. She hugged Harper tight. You do not owe him anything, but you owe yourself a chance. Harper nodded. I know. They drove north, past city buildings, through towns with faded signs and silent porches. The road curved gently. Leaves had begun to turn, red, gold, brown. Lily sat in the back seat, humming to herself. She held her stuffed dolphin in one hand. Harper kept one hand on the wheel. The other rested on her lap. The map lay folded on the passenger seat. She followed the red line, step by step, mile by mile. By late afternoon, they arrived at a clearing just off a gravel road. A small cabin stood between two trees. Smoke curled from its chimney. Simple, unpainted, real. Harper parked the car and turned to Lily. "Are you ready?" Lily nodded, her eyes wide with curiosity. They stepped out together. The air was sharp and fresh. Leaves crunched beneath their feet. Harper walked slowly to the door. It opened before she could knock. Elliot stood there. No jacket, no plan, just him. He looked at Harper, then down at Lily. "Hello," he said. Harper did not speak right away. Then she whispered, "Why here? Because here is quiet," Elliot said. "And I thought maybe we needed quiet." He stepped aside. "Would you come in?" Harper looked down at Lily. Lily smiled, then nodded. Inside, the cabin was warm. A fire crackled in the small fireplace. Two mugs sat on the table. One was empty. The other steamed gently. A third had just been set out. Elliot spoke quietly. "I bought this place a year ago. I never told anyone. Why? Because it felt like a place to breathe. A place not touched by the rest of the world." Harper looked around. Wooden shelves, a worn rug, a small window with a view of the trees. "I remembered what you said," Elliot continued. "About snow, about silence, about wanting something that does not come with noise." Lily walked to the window. "There is a bird," she said. Harper smiled. Elliot looked at her. "I am not asking for anything today," he said. "No answers, no promises." He placed something on the table, a box of watercolors, new, but small. Harper stared at it. "I remembered the way your eyes lit up when you talked about painting," Elliot said. "So I brought what I could." Harper sat down slowly. She touched the box gently, then looked at him. "You remembered?" He nodded. "You matter," he said. "Not because of what happened, not because of what others said, but because you are the most honest person I have met in years." She did not speak right away. Then she said, "We are not fixed. I know. We are not ready. I am not in a hurry." Harper reached out and opened the watercolor box. The colors sat in a neat row, waiting. Lily walked over and leaned against her mother. "Can we paint a snowman?" Harper laughed softly. "Maybe tomorrow." Elliot smiled. "I will make cocoa." He walked into the small kitchen. Harper sat there, with her daughter at her side, with color in front of her, and silence all around. But this silence felt different. It felt safe. The morning light came gently through the small cabin window. Outside, the trees stood silent. A thin layer of frost covered the ground. The air felt still, like it was holding its breath. Harper sat in the kitchen, both of her hands wrapped around a warm mug of tea. The fire in the stone hearth had faded into soft orange embers. Warmth lingered in the room. She stared quietly at the flames. Soft footsteps touched the wooden floor. Lily appeared, with sleepy eyes and tangled curls. The blanket around her shoulders dragged behind like a cape. "Is there snow?" she asked. "Almost." Harper replied, "Maybe tomorrow." Lily climbed into her lap. The small body of the child leaned against her chest. The front door creaked open. Elliot stepped in. He was already dressed. His face looked calm, almost cautious. "Good morning," he said. Lily lifted her head. "You said there would be cocoa." "I did," Elliot said, smiling. "Let me get to it." He moved to the stove and took out a tin from the shelf. Within minutes, the scent of warm milk, chocolate, and cinnamon filled the room. Harper watched in silence. He moved without showing off. Nothing forced or polished, just a man in a cabin, making cocoa for a child. Later that morning, the three of them walked into the woods behind the cabin. The trees were bare. Their branches reached toward the sky like open hands. The path beneath their feet was soft with fallen leaves. Lily walked ahead, picking up bright red and yellow leaves. She held one above her head. This one looks like fire. Elliot bent down beside her. It does. That one is beautiful. Harper walked a few steps behind them. She listened to their voices. The quiet around them felt safe. When Lily grew tired, Harper lifted her. The child rested her head on the shoulder of her mother. Elliot walked beside them, silent but close. Back at the cabin, Lily fell asleep on the couch. A wool blanket covered her legs. One hand of the child still held a red leaf. Harper sat at the table. A small box of watercolors rested in front of her. Elliot placed a jar of brushes next to it. "I was not sure what kind you liked," he said. "These are perfect," Harper answered softly. She opened the box. The colors sat in a neat row. Harper picked up one brush. She dipped it in water, then touched the soft blue pigment. Slowly, she began to paint. A simple house, a narrow path, trees leaning slightly toward one another. Elliot sat across from her, quiet and still. After a moment, Harper asked, "Why did you remember all of this?" He looked at her. "Because your words stayed with me. You were not trying to impress anyone. You just spoke the truth. I thought you would forget me. I could not," Elliot said. "Even in silence, you were still there." Harper kept painting. Her hand moved with more confidence. Then she paused. "You did not write. You sent a map. I wanted you to come only if you chose it. No pressure, no noise, just a path." Harper nodded. "You gave me space, and you used it," Elliot said. That evening, Lily helped Elliot stir a pot of soup on the stove. She stood on a chair, gripping the wooden spoon with both hands. Elliot stood beside her, following her instructions with exaggerated focus. Harper sat on the couch. She smiled and rested her chin on her hand. The room smelled of garlic and thyme. The fire crackled again in the hearth. After dinner, they sat together. Lily colored on a small notepad. Harper returned to her watercolor page. Elliot read quietly from a paperback novel. No one spoke, but the silence felt full. When Lily grew tired, she curled up under a blanket and drifted into sleep. Harper tucked the child in gently. She looked at Elliot. "I still do not know where this is going." "I do not either," he said. "But I know how it feels." Harper nodded. "It feels honest." "Yes," he said. "That is rare." She looked out the window. The stars had started to appear, clear and quiet. They stood side by side near the glass. Harper kept her hands folded in front of her. Elliot stayed close, but did not reach for her. "I used to think people like us lived on different sides of a wall," Harper said. "Maybe we still do," Elliot replied. "But walls can be climbed." She turned to face him. "I cannot promise anything. I am not asking you to." Harper reached for his hand. She held it for a moment. No words. Then she let go. But she did not step away. The cabin stayed quiet. The only sound was the fire behind them and the gentle wind against the windows. The breathing of Lily was soft from across the room. This was not a story for headlines. It was not perfect, but it was real. And it was enough. The snow arrived during the night. It came slowly, without sound. When Harper opened the front door of the cabin, The world outside had changed. A soft white blanket covered the trees, the path, and the roof. The ground no longer crunched. It whispered. She stepped outside, holding a cup of tea between her hands. The cold air touched her cheeks. It woke her gently. Behind her, Lily pressed her face to the window. Her eyes were wide with joy. Harper looked back and smiled. She has never seen real snow, she whispered to herself. A moment later, Lily burst through the door in boots too big and gloves that did not match. Mama, it is like the sky gave us frosting. Harper laughed. Elliot followed behind, pulling on his coat. He carried a scarf in one hand and 2 carrots in the other. Emergency snowman supplies, he said. Lily clapped her hands. We need buttons and a hat. Harper pointed toward the cabin. There is a bag by the fire. I brought it just in case. Elliot smiled. You really are always prepared. Not always, Harper said, but I am learning. They worked together in the clearing behind the cabin. Lily packed snow with both hands, her cheeks red from the cold. Harper helped shape the middle section, while Elliot rolled the largest base. They stacked each part carefully. Harper handed Elliot the carrot. He placed it right in the center of the face. Lily giggled. It looks like a snow rabbit. Harper found 2 pine cones for eyes. Elliot added a scarf. Together, they stepped back to admire their creation. The snowman stood crooked, but proud, just like them. They spent the rest of the morning outside. Lily made snow angels near the edge of the trees. Elliot and Harper walked slowly along the path. Their hands brushed once, then again. Finally, they held each other gently. No words, just warmth. They stopped beneath a tree heavy with snow. Elliot looked at Harper. Do you ever miss the city? Sometimes, Harper said, but not the noise. What do you miss? Library books, the smell of fresh bagels, the sound of a bus late at night. Elliot nodded. I miss the view from my old office, but only in the early morning, before anyone else arrived. Harper looked up through the branches. Snowflakes fell on her face. This feels like a different world. It is, Elliot said. But I like this one more. Inside, they warmed up with cocoa and buttered toast. Lily told a long story about how the snowman might come to life at midnight and dance in the woods. Harper listened, smiling. Elliot added another log to the fire. Later. Harper sat at the table with her watercolors. Lily sat beside her with crayons. Elliot leaned on the edge of the table, watching them work. Harper painted the trees from earlier. This time, with snow. She added a small figure in a red scarf, standing near a crooked snowman. Lily leaned over the paper. That is me, yes. Harper said. That is you. Elliot pointed at the tall figure next to the snowman. And that is me. Harper gave a small nod. What about you? He asked. Harper hesitated. Then she added a third figure. A woman with brown boots and a gray coat. She placed the figure between the others, side by side. That evening, Margaret called. Harper sat near the fire with the phone pressed to her ear. She saw snow for the first time. Harper said, I know, said Margaret. She could hardly contain herself on the call. She already wants to come back next winter. She is not the only one, Margaret replied. There was a pause. Then Margaret asked, and you, Harper, stared at the fire. I feel... still. Margaret smiled through the line. Then stay in that stillness. Not everything needs to be decided today. Later. After Lily had fallen asleep, Harper stood at the window again. The snow continued to fall, slow, gentle. Elliot joined her. I have something to show you, he said. He handed her a folded piece of paper. Harper opened it. It was a small sketch, a garden, a house with 2 bedrooms, a porch with a bench. She looked at him. What is this? It is a plan, Elliot said. Nothing big, just something simple. Close to the school Lily liked. A small yard. Good neighbors. He paused. No pressure. Just an idea. Harper studied the paper, then folded it and held it close. You are thinking about us. I have not stopped. Harper closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them again. I am not ready to move in. Not yet. Elliot nodded. I know. But maybe, she continued, we can take one step at a time. That is all I ever hoped for. They stood together in the quiet again. The wind moved gently outside. The fire behind them glowed. Harper reached for the hand of Elliot. This time, she held it longer. The final morning at the cabin came with sunlight instead of snow. The frost had melted from the windows. The trees stood quiet and bare, but a soft golden light covered the earth like a blanket. Harper stood on the porch, wrapped in a wool shawl. Lily ran in circles, chasing her own shadow. The boots of the child made small prints in the soft ground. Elliot stepped outside with 2 mugs. He handed one to Harper. She accepted it with a small smile. The steam from the drink rose gently between them. Neither spoke for a while. The silence did not ask for words. Finally, Elliot said, "You leave tomorrow." Harper nodded. Yes. Do you feel ready? I do not know, Harper said. Elliot looked toward the woods. I hope this place gave you something. It did, Harper replied. She turned toward him. It gave me quiet. It gave Lily joy. And it reminded me that I am allowed to feel again. Elliot did not answer right away. Then he said, I want you to know, whatever you choose, I will still be here. I believe you. Harper said softly. Inside the cabin, Lily packed her small bag with treasures, pine cones, crayons, a folded painting of the snowman. Margaret had already texted to say she made Harper's favorite soup. Harper folded their clothes while Lily sang to herself. Elliot watched from the doorway. This was never just about escaping. Harper said, No. Elliot replied, It was about remembering who I am outside of noise and headlines. You do not need to explain. I want to. Harper zipped the final bag. I have spent years trying to be strong, but this, choosing joy, is a different kind of strength. Elliot stepped closer. Wherever you go from here, let it be because you want to, not because you are afraid. Harper looked up at him. I am not afraid anymore. That evening, they had one last dinner together. Roasted vegetables, fresh bread, simple things that felt like home. Lily told a story about how the snowman might visit their dreams. She insisted he would wear a hat made of stars. After dinner, they sat near the fire. Harper painted quietly. Lily drew more snowflakes. Elliot listened to the sound of the fire and the pencil moving across the page. The moment felt suspended, whole, complete. Later, after Lily fell asleep, Harper stepped out onto the porch one last time. The sky stretched wide above her. A few stars had returned. Elliot joined her, keeping a few steps behind. Harper turned. I have made my choice. Elliot held his breath. I want to go back to Boston. He nodded. But I want to return here too, not just once a year. Not as a visitor. Elliot stepped closer. Are you saying? I am saying, Harper whispered. I want to build something. Slowly, gently, together. Elliot smiled. A quiet, steady smile. I have been waiting to hear that. Harper looked out into the trees. But I still need time. I still want my apartment, my neighborhood, my work. I would not take that from you. Harper turned back to him. I want to be with you, but I want to keep being me. Elliot nodded. Then that is what we will do. They stood side by side, not holding hands, not kissing, just standing, together. In the morning, they packed the car. Lily hugged the snowman goodbye. She whispered something into the wind. Harper closed the cabin door and looked back once. Then they drove. Through winding roads, past tall trees, back toward the life they had paused. Weeks passed. The bakery reopened after holiday break. Harper returned to work part-time. She painted in the evenings. She met with a counselor. She called Margaret every day. Elliot sent letters. No emails, no calls, just letters. Sometimes with pictures, sometimes with poems, sometimes with nothing but one line. I thought of you today. That was enough. Lily drew maps. She named imaginary places after their time at the cabin. The Valley of Cocoa, the Trail of Warm Scarves, the Mountain of Quiet Hugs. One evening, Harper came home from work. A package waited at the door. Inside was a key. Attached was a note, not for moving in, just for opening the door when you feel ready. Harper held the key in her hand. She did not cry. She smiled, then placed it gently in the drawer beside her bed. She would use it, but not yet. Spring arrived slowly. The trees bloomed again. Harper and Lily visited the park more often. They fed ducks, drew chalk rainbows on the sidewalk, took long walks with no destination. One Saturday, Harper stood in front of a canvas, a new one, blank and bright. She picked up a brush. Elliot entered the room behind her. He carried coffee. He said nothing. He stood beside her. Harper looked at him, then dipped her brush in yellow, the color of new mornings, the color of hope. Sometimes, the most important choices in life do not come with noise or applause. They come in silence, in the quiet moments when no one is watching. This story reminds us that love is not always about dramatic gestures. It often lives in small, steady things. A warm drink on a cold morning, a hand held without words, the courage to begin again, even when the heart is tired. Many of us know what it feels like to lose something, a person, a dream, a part of ourselves. But there is a different kind of strength that grows when we choose kindness over fear. Harper did not need to be saved. She needed to be seen. And Elliot learned that love is not about fixing someone. It is about walking beside them without trying to change their path. This story is not about happy endings. It is about honest ones. In the end, maybe the greatest hope is this: it is never too late to begin again. And sometimes, the softest voice in the room is the one that leads us home. Thank you for spending this quiet moment with us. If this story touched your heart or reminded you of something true, please consider liking the video, sharing it with someone you care about, and subscribing to the channel. Your support helps us keep telling stories that heal, connect, and inspire.